Google Ads work for 5 to 50K plus services, but that's not the problem. The problem arises when it's relied on as the single online acquisition channel, because there's one thing it will never be able to do, and that is create demand. And what I mean by that is Google Ads show to the small percent of your market who are actively searching for a solution. It doesn't create demand. So if Google Ads is your only digital channel, your growth is naturally capped by the size of the search active market. So the reason why Google Ads does work so well is simplicity, right? It's a simple setup, captures people who are high intent and measurable. You got a prospect who searches, your ad appears, they click, they browse, and then they fill out a form. So Google Ads makes complete sense because the buyer is already searching for the solution, but the limitation is that the buyer has to search first. So Google Ads has those 5 distinct stages, and at each one, something structural occurs that erodes the model's effectiveness for high ticket service businesses. So number 1 is the actual search itself. Google Ads only shows people already searching, but your wider market may not be there. Number 2 is the sponsored list. So your ads appear, and it usually appears next to competitors. You're not being presented as the obvious choice. You're being presented as one option in a comparison set. And at that point, your differentiation is compressed into maybe a headline and a few lines of copy. And when everyone looks similar in search results, the buyer starts comparing in simpler ways. So price, location, speed, reviews. That is not where most high ticket services really want to compete. Number 3 is the click. So once the person clicks, you've paid for that visit, but the prospects arrive usually having almost no trust built with you. So your website now has to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And if that page does not immediately create the trust, relevance, clarity, the prospect leaves. So often they go straight back to Google and click another result. So number 4 is the page itself. Most websites are expected to do too much in one unguided visit. So they need to explain the service, show credibility, handle objections, show proof. And for low consideration purchases, that could very well be manageable. But when you're asking somebody to take an action towards what could be a 5, 20, 50K service, one website visit is often not enough. And number 5 is the form fill. So the people who fill in the form are not always the best fit buyers. They're often people who have the lowest friction threshold. That can include genuine prospects, but can also include prospects who are just price shoppers, people comparing several service providers, and people who are just really early on in their research. And the problem is the form is usually optimized to get completions, but completions are not the same as qualified inquiries. So the structural problem underneath this is Google Ads is a demand capture mechanism. Its entire logic assumes that the prospect does their own trust building, does their own research on their own timeline. And that assumption works best when the purchase is low consideration, but at high ticket, it becomes a bottleneck because ultimately high consideration buyers will likely not make a commitment at the end of an unguided page visit, right? Instead, they require, multiple touch points delivered to them, accumulated credibility, objections handled, familiarity built. So where does Google Ads work in the system, right? So you've got 2 different types of channels here. You've got demand creation mechanisms and you've got demand capture. What you can do with demand creation is reach your wider market on the platforms they use every single day. Platforms like LinkedIn and Meta can do this, but if done properly and you're not just running an ad straight to a booking page, then you can actually leverage paid ads, content, and retargeting to build familiarity, awareness, trust, presence, and overall market authority over time with your wider market. So if your business generates 5 to 50K clients through referrals, Google, or returning buyers, and you want to build wider market presence, trust, and authority, create more decision-ready high-ticket conversations, and reduce reliance on referrals and search demand, the next step is a one-on-one session where we map what that buyer journey would look like specifically for your business. And if there's a clear fit and you want help implementing it, we can talk through the 90-day build, which includes a 30-day setup, 60-day live window, and setup fee ROI guarantee. And if not, you'll still leave with a practical map of what that buyer journey would look like for your business to reach, warm, and convert high-ticket prospects beyond referrals and Google Ads.